Hello and welcome to the Journal. I'm Steve Kendall. When we think of school-related sports and activities, there's probably one that for a lot of us probably has flown below the radar, but that's not the case if we talk to some of the folks from Patrick Henry Local Schools in Henry County. We're going to be talking about archery. We're joined by the coach and some of the members of the Patrick Henry Archery Club, Coach Todd West, and club members Ashley Mullins, Kelsey Schwiebert, Mackenzie Whitman, and Dylan Morris. Welcome everybody to the Journal. Appreciate you being here today, so thanks for coming on with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Coach West, I guess, talk a little bit about the program, its origin, how long it's been going on. Just kind of give us some background on this, because I said for a lot of folks, archery is not something that we typically think of when we think of sports that kids are involved in at the school level.
Sure. I graduated from Liberty Center in '89, and I remember our gym teacher teaching archery during PE class. And you're right, I think education got away from it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But 15 years ago, our phys ed teacher, Mr. Jim Krieger, found a grant through the Ohio Division of Wildlife. And he filled that out, applied, and received about $3,000 worth of archery equipment and targets and arrows and whatnot, safety nets. And a number of the kids really took to it during gym class and liked it. And they knew that I was an avid archer and approached me about maybe helping supervise and organize a little after school club, you know, maybe a couple hours a week. And it grew from there. And it wound up, 15 years ago being just maybe a dozen high schoolers went to middle school. And then maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I brought in grades 4 and 5. So now we have a complete program, grades 4 through 12, with this year we had 141 kids in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, and I guess when you talk about that, the other thing that I found when I was doing just a little background research on this is there are a lot of schools. You compete with a lot of schools from Northwest Ohio and all over the state, obviously. And that's something, again, that I don't know that a lot of people are aware of. So a lot of other schools also have these programs, full-scale competition. You had one just a couple of weeks ago out there.
Yes. We hosted our 14th annual archery invite here at PH. And Patrick Henry is part of the Black Swamp Archery League. All the area coaches in the 4-county area got together. I can't even really tell you how long ago, but we organized ourselves, came up with a competition schedule, and we communicate and know each other well. It's good. It's a good place to be.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about this is a club sport, I'm assuming, so which is supported to what degree by the school system, or to what level is it supported or not supported? Is this more of a everyone who participates sort of pays their own way, or is it some school subsidy as well?
Oh, definitely the district supports it. They've been very good over the years, and know the niche that it fills. They've supported us as coaches with facilities, time, and transportation.
Okay, so yeah, that's good to know. Now, we're joined on here, and I mentioned at the beginning of the program, by 2 8th graders from the middle school at Patrick Henry and 2 high school seniors. Well, talk a little bit. I'm going to actually, I've got Kelsey and Ashley who are together, and also Dylan and Mackenzie in one of the other photos there. But obviously, as you mentioned, the program goes from 4th grade, and I saw the photos online, the group shots, which is quite impressive. Ashley or Kelsey, whichever one should jump in first, talk a little about your involvement, how you got started, what attracted you to the archery program to begin with. So whichever one of you wants to jump in.
Okay, I'm Ashlyn, and I have been in the program since the 4th grade. So now that I'm an 8th grader, I've been here for about 4 years, and I've really enjoyed the sport and all the friends and fun that came along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started when I was in the 5th grade.
So I've only done it for 3 years, and I've been involved in like a lot of other sports during like the time that I've done archery. And Todd has been like very good at like letting us do those sports over archery, and like he still understands that like we'll put in the time to work on archery. So yeah, we've definitely been able to work with archery around our busy schedules with other sports, and the coaches have been nothing but helpful working around them, and we still always try to find time to practice archery and come to the meets.
Yeah, now with you two, and I'll get to. I'm not going to leave you guys out, Dylan, Mackenzie. We'll get to you shortly. In terms of Ashlyn and Kelsey, what are the kind of things that you took away from that? Was there something when you first started that surprised you about archery, or did it just seem like a perfectly natural thing to do with the first time you picked up a bow and all the other equipment that you use?
Well, like I said, I was a 4th grader, and archery seemed like a pretty cool sport at the time. And I just decided to try it out because why not? And I ended up really liking it, and it just felt natural. Yeah. So like my family, like some of my family like hunts a lot, and it just seemed like a fun thing to do. So I went out and tried it, and it was just really fun.
Yeah. And obviously you have a lot of your classmates who join you in this, because when I looked at the photos online, and it's a big group of people from the middle school. Obviously you guys are closing in on not being middle schoolers anymore, so you're already probably thinking about high school, but obviously it's a real long program. Real quick, we'll jump over. We've got Dylan Morris and Mackenzie Whitman. Talk a little about your experience, how you started. We'll probably have to skip out because we're going to run out of a little time here in this segment, but talk a little bit right now about how you got started, what attracted you to it, and what it's, how you've grown into this sport as you've participated.
All right, so I've been in archery since my 7th grade year. I got into it because all of my other siblings were in archery, and I would always be at the after-school practices, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want to try that out. So my 7th grade year, I tried it out, and I liked it, and I stayed in there ever since.
Yeah. And Dylan?
Yeah, I started 7th grade too. Back when we started, they didn't have any of the lower grades in it yet, so we had to start out in 7th grade, but it was still really awesome. I always grew up shooting bows for hunting and just for fun, so it just seemed like a good program to get involved in, and ever since then, I've just loved it.
Yeah, great. Well, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that, because I'm interested to see, now obviously some of you had experience before you joined the program doing things outside of it. With regard to using bows and arrows, but I'm interested to see how good you were the first time you picked it up. So we'll talk with you about how much improved you've been over the years. So back in just a moment with members of the Patrick Henry High School Archery Club and their coach here on The Journal. We'll be back in just a moment. Thanks for staying with us here on The Journal. We have members of the Patrick Henry Schools Archery Club with us. We're joined by Ashley Mullins and Kelsey Schwiebert. They're from Patrick Henry Middle School. Also Dylan Morris and Mackenzie Whitman from Patrick Henry High School. And the head person at the program, Todd West, who also in his spare time acts as a guidance counselor at Patrick Henry High School. So yeah, his main gig. Ashley and Kelsey, talk to me about the equipment and the terminology and things, because as I say, I'm totally, the archery, I've seen it, I know what it looks like when I see it, but talk about the skill set and the equipment, what it's called, the different techniques and that sort of thing.
Okay, so obviously you have the bow and arrow.
Yep,
and
okay.
Target that you do that. The school provides you with bows if you don't have one, but you can always get your own personal bow if you like, and arrows can come with that too.
Yeah. Now, are there gloves and things that you wear? Certain things you wear on your hands? Are there other things that are involved besides just the bow and arrow?
Yeah, you can wear like stuff on your fingers to help them like not get like blisters, because I know I get a blister like on my finger, like right here. And then you can also wear an arm sleeve, because when you let go, the string can like hit your arm and it hurts.
Okay.
And it just helps prevent like it from hurting really bad. And
yeah, so it's possible to get something like archery elbow if you're not careful, if you're not wearing the appropriate sleeve and things. Okay, yeah, interesting. Kelsey and Dylan, obviously, you're a few years older than or Mackenzie and Dylan, than Ashland and Kelsey. So talk about, your experience, because obviously you have a few more years in this, but are there certain techniques, are there certain styles of shooting that you use, or is everybody pretty much doing the same thing?
I would say that everybody pretty much follows the same stuff, but there are a couple things that everybody does just a little bit different, you know. Like some people use different parts of the bow or different parts of the arrow to help them aim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with everybody, it's just a little bit different. You know, personally, I use the arrow and the bow, just a little bit of a combination. But like I said, everybody's got their own way that works for them and helps them out. So,
yeah. And Mackenzie, obviously, everyone has their own personal preference. These are like, I guess, for softball and baseball players, you have your own personal bow, just like they would have bats and gloves and things. So is there difference in tension on the strings and things like that that for each person has their own sort of set of personal setup for their bow and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so like the elementary little kids, like when they first start, we give them like a bow that's like dialed all the way down, so it's like easier for them to pull back. And then like as the season goes on, Mr. West tries to like dial them all the way up. So yeah.
And there's obviously this is measured in what some sort of pounds pressure, something like that, in terms of the bows, the tension on the string, I guess, if that's what it is. It is the bow string. Is that what we're calling this? That's an appropriate term. So yeah, you start out with a lower tension and work your way up. When it comes to aiming, I mean, obviously, you know, we were out at the event a couple of Saturdays ago and watched people do this. When you set up to aim, you obviously have to know the ballistics of your arrow, all of that sort of thing. So how do you, over time, how have you learned to adjust, like when you're accounting for the ballistics of the arrow, that sort of thing? It's because it doesn't go perfectly straight for its entire distance. So are there certain techniques you learn over time to know how to aim and make sure you're putting the arrow where you want it to go?
I guess over time, it just kind of becomes natural to you. Like that first year that you start out, it's pretty tough. You know, you're not going to know exactly what to do when you're shooting, you know, but Mr. West has always helped us all, you know. He always tells you, just move it a little bit this way or move it a little bit that way, you know, and then over time, like I said, it just becomes so natural to you that you don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
You just pull back, aim, and if it goes where you didn't want it to, you know, you just adjust for the next arrow and just shoot it one arrow at a time.
Yeah, that rarely happens. It goes where you don't want it to go, right? If you're comfortable with that, yeah. Now, Ashland and Kelsey, so what distance are we talking? When you guys line up for competition, how far away is the target when you set up to do this?
Oh, you start, so the first time you shoot, you start at 10 meters away from the target. And you do that for 4 rounds because you have a practice round and then you have 3 scoring rounds.
Okay.
And then after 10 meters, you go back to 15 meters and then you do the same thing.
It's just from a farther distance.
Yeah.
Okay. And in a typical competition, so like the event that was a couple of Saturdays ago, which was a large event, what does this work like in terms of the sequence of shooting? You get so many shots and that thing. So kind of take us through what a competition was like, Mackenzie or Dylan, in terms of what you do that day to perform to compete with other folks in this sport.
You good? Just run through, yeah.
So during like practices, we just try to like prepare for the competitions, and we all have 5 arrows that we get to shoot.
Okay.
And
Yep, you shoot. I believe you shoot your 5 arrows around, and then you get, like they said, 4 rounds per 10 or 15, and then that's just we practice like when we compete. There's no difference in between our practices and competitions, and that really makes it nice because then you know exactly what to do at the meets and you know exactly how it's going to go. We use the whistle at every practice. We get to learn the commands the first couple of years, and after a while it becomes natural to you. And like I said, we just practice exactly how we're going to compete. Now,
when you're in this kind of competition, is there any kind of gamesmanship that goes on? Do you you know, obviously you're competing with dozens and dozens of other competitors. Anything you do, your own style to kind of get in their heads or anything to say, oh, you know, don't even bother to shoot. There's no point in you guys shooting. We got this. Anything you do to, like, you know, psych the other people out in any way?
I mean, not really, you know.
Okay.
I guess sometimes you see somebody that's shooting really, really good that day, and it kind of gets a little, you know, you feel overwhelmed trying to compete with them, you know, but you just got to focus on your own target and just focus on your own arrows, and then that really helps.
Yeah. So in a way, it's almost like golf. You're really competing against, it's you and the target, not necessarily you and the person beside you, but you're aware of what they're doing, but it's not a one-on-one sort of thing, yeah. And obviously too, and Ashlyn and Kelsey, you can jump in here. You compete, obviously, as you mentioned, there's a league, the 4-county league that you're in, but the competition goes beyond that, just the local level. There are state tournaments and regional tournaments and things like that. So have you guys experienced that so far in your career?
Yeah. I went to state my first year, and then I didn't go like any other years, and because I had like other stuff going on, and then COVID happened and everything just went downhill. Then this year I get to go to state, so.
Yeah, one of the things with state is most of the time you will get to go if you qualify. So it depends on how well you perform out of your meets through that season. If you perform well, then you're most likely going to go to state and shoot. And you can only take the top 25 or so kids.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this, because I'm interested to see a little bit more about the background of the program and how you recruit for this too, because it's obviously you've got a significant number of the total students in the elementary, the middle school, and the high school participating. So back in just a moment with members and the coach of the Patrick Henry Schools Archery Club here on The Journal. Back in a moment. Thanks for staying with us here on The Journal. Our guests tonight are the members of the Patrick Henry Local Schools Archery Club. And obviously too, and again, we've talked about the events and things like that, but Coach West, are you guys actually in season right now, or what is the timeline for this? Because obviously all sports, all activities have windows of time when they're going on. So where are we right now in the archery sports schedule?
We are in the home stretch, that is for sure. Usually around about the end of November, I'll call a parent meeting, and we start up the first week of December. We won't have our first competition until mid to end January. And then February and March are pretty much packed with archery events.
And so when will the tournaments, the state actually, that sort of thing take place?
State tournament is in 2 weeks. It'll go the 19th and 20th of March. And that we've had all the Black Swamp archery schools have their own individual tournaments leading up to that. Once the state meet happens, if I have a team that wins a team trophy, or if I have individuals that win something, then there are other options as far as nationals go and even world tournaments. Wow. Okay. So it's just as similar to every other school activity or sport. There is that whole list of things to do. Back to you guys as students. Obviously, you're in the program. Ashlyn, Kelsey, do you have brothers or sisters that have either following you or have been ahead of you in this? So talk a little about that, because obviously it's like a lot of things. It becomes a family activity as well. So do either of you have brothers, sisters, cousins, friends, things like that are involved?
Well, I don't have any family that's involved, but the way that my family got involved with it, with me, was my dad, he built something down in my basement that helps me shoot if I miss practice or something. I can practice in my own basement, and that's how they kind of got involved. And then some nights we just do competitions to see to get a better score, and it was always fun.
Okay, yeah. And I think you were mentioning too, I think you have somebody who's following in your footsteps, I believe, right?
Yeah, I have a little brother named Maddox. He's in the 4th grade, so this is his first year in archery. He has some older friends in archery as well. So, you know, having me in it and his friends, obviously he wanted to try it out. And this season he's actually doing really good
Oh.
for his first year.
Yeah.
And Kelsey and my family are really close. So, like, if we miss a practice from other sports, we just go to her house and shoot. And the coach will send Coach West our scores, and that's how we reach him with that.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little. So is your brother going to be better than you or not? What do you think?
At the rate he's going now, probably.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, you'll see. But you still got a lot of years. You still got time to do that. That's good. Dylan and Mackenzie, what about you? Do you have siblings that either preceded you or are following you in the program?
I actually don't have any siblings in the program, but I joined with a couple of my buddies that 7th grade year. And, you know, it seems like we're kind of all one big archery family, you know, so even though I don't have any real family in the program, it kind of seems like we're all still family here.
Yeah. And Mackenzie, what about you?
Yeah, so I have 4 older siblings that they were all in archery, and I was always staying after school watching their practices, and so I kind of followed in their footsteps. And then I also have some cousins in the program too that's younger than me.
Yeah. Now, do you guys think, and any of you can jump in, any of the students, do any of you think, is this something you're going to continue to do the rest of your life? Is this kind of like a lifelong sport you can keep doing and you will do it? Or is this something you're just kind of interested in right now? Do you feel it's going to be something when you're 45, 50, long ways off, way beyond what you probably can comprehend in terms of being that old? Is that something you think you'll do the rest of your life as a sport?
This most definitely is a lifelong sport. You know, you can start it when you're really young, and you can keep doing it for as long as you want. As long as you can shoot a bow, then you can still do archery. You know, a lot of people hunt into their 60s and 70s, and they started when they're 10 or younger. So it's definitely lifelong.
Yeah. Now, and Mackenzie, now, and I guess Coach West, maybe you can jump in real quick. Are there college programs, obviously, too? I mean, so that's something at the college level. If any of you are moving on there, you could probably find college clubs as well, or teams.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, this year we have our very first alumni who is shooting collegiately. Michaela Panning last year was an excellent archer. She's in our club Hall of Fame, and she is now. They are just right in the middle of their collegiate season. I think she was just up in Michigan last weekend competing for her college. I know next weekend she'll be in Pennsylvania. So definitely opportunities out there.
Yeah. Well, and that's something too, because obviously, if you move into the college level, you still want to have something that gets you away from just books and studying all the time, and this is a great thing to do as well. Mackenzie, I didn't want to interrupt you. You've talked about the fact that you had 4 people involved in this, and so obviously in your family, it's a big thing. Is that something you think you'll be doing if you move on in years ahead to continue to do this and encourage other people to do it as well?
Maybe, but if I don't, I'll definitely encourage like little people at practices. I go to the elementary practices and I help out Mr. West with them learning how to do archery and everything. So yeah.
Now, Ashlyn and Kelsey, what's the most fun about this for you? What's the best part of it besides, obviously you're very skilled at this and everything, but is there one thing that's like, well, this is the greatest part of this, the most fun is to go out and do this part of this whole activity?
Archery in general is just fun, but I think for us, it's just shooting together and like seeing who can always be the better shooter that day at practice. We're competitive, so that's probably one of the things that we enjoy the most.
Yeah. And Dylan, Mackenzie, anything that you pick out of this and say, wow, this is the one thing that really has been super enjoyable about doing this?
I guess like they were saying, the competitiveness, you can shoot with your buddies, and always try and one-up each other or whatnot. But, then there's always that goal of trying to shoot a 50 or trying to get way up in the 200s, and just always better yourself.
Yeah, good. And Mackenzie?
Yeah, I have a cousin that's in archery too, and we are kind of competitive, and so yeah.
Great. Well, I appreciate you being on, and been obviously educated me a great deal on this whole activity, because again, it's something that you're not aware of. You really aren't aware of all the details of it, and how just how detailed and how exciting the sport actually is, and the skill levels that are involved. So appreciate you guys coming on. Good luck in your future endeavors in this and everything else that you take on. Coach West, thanks again for coming on, and we appreciate you guys doing this. And yeah, keep us in the loop on how things are going out there. And yeah, it's an interesting thing. And again, something they say flies below the radar for a lot of us if we don't have not involved in it at that level. So that's great. So appreciate it very much. Thanks again.
Just if you could shoot me a heads up as to when the airtime will be. And
Yeah, in fact, I'll stick the promo in right now. This will air this Thursday night. We're recording this on Monday the 7th, so it'll air on the 10th for everybody. We'll see this over time at 8 o'clock here on WBGU. So yeah, thanks for that. That's all we have time for right now. You can check us out at WBGU.org, and of course you can watch us every Thursday night at 8 o'clock on WBGU PBS. Thanks again for being here. Good night and good luck.